The keeper of unspoken name's staircase ended abruptly in a cavernous hall, walls stretching impossibly high, glowing with soft amber light that seemed to rise from the ground itself. Mist hovered over the stone floor, twisting and curling like living smoke. Jack, Mara, and Promethy stepped cautiously, the echoes of their footsteps swallowed by the vastness around them. Jack glanced around nervously. "I hate to ask this now, but are we sure this is a good idea?" Mara didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the far end of the hall, where a massive doorway framed by runes pulsed faintly. "Good or not, this is the only way forward," she murmured. "The keeper awaits beyond that door." Promethe's grip tightened on the fragment, its light steady and reassuring. "The keeper of unspoken names does not wait for the timid. Every step here is a test, and every sound you make is heard. We must move together." The air was thick, people with tension, carrying whispers of languages they didn't know, curling around their ears like soft wind. The whispers didn't speak words, but memories, fragments of thoughts, fears, and forgotten promises. Jack shivered. "Great. Hull of creepy whispers? Just what I needed." Mara's cane tapped the floor lightly, sending ripples of blue energy through the mist. "Do not fear the whispers," she said calmly. "They feed only on hesitation. Focus on what is real, each other and your own resolve." The doorway loomed ahead. Its runes pulsed in slow rhythm, and as they approached, the whispers intensified, almost forming words. Jack felt an icy hand press against his spine, and for a moment he saw shadows, faces of people he had known, twisted by fear and time. Promethy extended the fragment toward the runes. Silver light traced the intricate symbols, revealing patterns hidden beneath the surface. "The keeper does not speak. Names are unspoken for a reason. Yet every name carries weight, and every memory is a key. We must show it our truths." Mara's gaze sharpened. "Step carefully. One misstep and the keeper could erase what it finds unworthy. Or worse." Jack swallowed and nodded, feeling the gravity of their journey pressing down. Each step toward the doorway was a step deeper into uncertainty, and yet the air seemed to hum with anticipation. The keeper awaited, and beyond it lay truths they had yet to confront, not only about the passage, but about themselves. As they crossed the threshold, the hull transformed. Amber light became liquid, flowing along walls and floor as if the chamber itself were breathing. Shapes began to emerge, floating pillars of light, each inscribed with names they could almost recognize but could not speak aloud. The whispers coalesced into a murmur, a symphony of forgotten voices. Jack's hand went instinctively to the fragment. "Do we talk to it?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Promethy shook his head. "No. The keeper does not answer. We offer ourselves through truth, through memory, through recognition. It watches and it chooses." Mara stepped forward, her eyes scanning the pillars. "Each name, a soul unspoken. Each memory, a burden, a gift. We must tread lightly." Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing a figure at the center, a being of shifting light and shadow. Its form was ever-changing, neither human nor entirely abstract, with countless eyes opening and closing across its surface, observing everything. This was the keeper. It did not speak, yet the room resonated with its presence. Jack felt his memories pressing against his mind, and Mara sensed the weight of all unspoken names swirling around them. Promethy raised the fragment, its glow steady, a beacon of resolve in the overwhelming presence. The keeper's eyes focused on them, and the air thickened. Time seemed to slow. Every breath they drew felt as though it could tip the balance, as if the slightest thought could awaken a storm of forgotten truths. Jack swallowed, forcing himself to meet the eyes of the keeper. We come with truth," he said finally. "We come with the names we carry and the burdens we bear." Mara and Promethy nodded, joining him in silent affirmation. The keeper's form shimmered, reacting. Pillars of light began to shift, arranging themselves around the trio, forming a path forward but also a challenge. Each pillar demanded recognition, each name required understanding. Each memory called for courage. The trial had begun. The moment they stepped onto the path formed by the shifting pillars of light, the keeper's presence intensified. The eyes scattered across its form blinked in unison, sending ripples through the ambient mist. Every step forward was met with a subtle resistance, as if the air itself weighed on their bodies, pressing them toward the ground. Jack stumbled slightly, gripping the fragment tighter. "This is heavy," he muttered, his voice trembling. "I feel like the air itself is judging me." Mara moved steadily, her cane glowing faintly, illuminating the path. "It is judging, Jack. Everything here judges. The keeper weighs memories, fears, and truths. Hesitation is weakness. Clarity is strength." Promethy stepped between them, holding the fragment aloft. Its silver glow expanded, illuminating the pillars around them. The names inscribed on each pillar pulsed in rhythm with the keeper's form. The whispers grew louder, forming indistinct words and spoken names surfacing for a heartbeat. Then vanishing before they could be grasped, the first pillar loomed ahead, inscribed with names that felt hauntingly familiar. As they approached, visions erupted from the stone. Jack saw faces of childhood friends he had abandoned during past conflicts, frozen in moments of need he could not answer. His stomach twisted, and for a fleeting instant he considered turning back. "No," he whispered, gripping the fragment. "I face it. I remember everything. I accept it." He placed a hand on the pillar. A surge of energy ran through him, the whispers softening into faint melodies of understanding. The names glowed brightly, then faded, opening a passage deeper into the hall. Mara watched silently, sensing the keeper's approval. The second pillar confronted Mara. It radiated a subtle golden light, warm yet oppressive. As she approached, reflections of unchosen paths enveloped her. Moments where she had chosen caution over action, moments where she could have saved someone but hesitated. The visions were beautiful, tempting her to step off the path and linger in what might have been. "You cannot linger," Promethy cautioned. "The keeper does not wait for hesitation." Mara closed her eyes, drawing on her inner resolve. "I choose my path," she said softly. "Not what could have been, but what is and what must be." The golden light flared, the pillar acknowledging her courage. The path forward widened, shimmering, connecting with Jack's trail. The third trial approached, a swirling vortex of shadowed pillars, each inscribed with names that seemed impossible to speak aloud. Promethy sensed their weight instantly. These were names of those lost to time, those whose existence had been erased from memory. The keeper's voice, though silent, seemed to press into his mind. "Can you remember them? Can you honor what is forgotten without being consumed?" Promethe's hand tightened on the fragment. He inhaled, allowing memories of countless souls he had encountered during the passage to flow through him. Faces of the forgotten, voices of those who never had a chance to speak. He felt them all and acknowledged each. His light grew stronger, illuminating the vortex and solidifying the pillars into a stable bridge. Jack and Mara flanked him as they crossed, the keeper's eyes following their progress. The chambers shifted around them, the mist swirling faster, the pillars stretching and bending, yet the trio moved forward together. Guided by shared courage and truth. At last, they reached the central chamber. Here, the keeper awaited, fully manifested, its form towering and fluid, countless eyes blinking in awareness. The ambient light dimmed, leaving them in the keeper's radiance alone. A single unspoken name hovered above the center, glowing faintly, the name of someone from Promethe's past. Someone he had failed to save. "You have walked the path," the keeper's presence seemed to whisper. "You have remembered, acknowledged, and accepted. Yet the final truth remains. Can you confront what cannot be spoken and carry it forward without losing yourselves?" Jack swallowed hard. We face it," he said, stepping forward. Mara and Promethy nodded, each preparing themselves to face the keeper's ultimate trial. The hall trembled, the pillars bending, the mist swirling violently. This was the point of reckoning. Every memory, fear, and name converged, forming a tapestry of unspoken truths. And at the center, the keeper's gaze fixed upon them, demanding everything they had: courage, unity, and the strength to endure what words could never convey. The keeper's form expanded, a living lattice of light and shadow, its countless eyes converging on the trio. The room itself pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats, each thrum resonating through the pillars and mist. The whispers intensified, now forming fleeting words, half-memories of lives forgotten, regrets unspoken, and truths never revealed. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the chamber itself were holding its breath. Jack swallowed hard, feeling the weight of every memory pressing against his mind. I can feel them all. Their voices, their pain. It's overwhelming. Mara placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. Do not fight it. Acknowledge it. Recognition, not resistance, is the way forward. Promethy raised the fragment high, its silver light radiating outward in a protective dome. We step together. Courage, truth, unity. These are our shields. Suddenly, the keeper's eyes blinked in unison, and the room shifted violently. The pillars warped into floating platforms, suspended over a void filled with swirling mist. Names, thousands of them, glowed faintly along the edges, each one a soul lost, forgotten, or unspoken. Jack's legs trembled as he stepped onto the first platform. The whispers assaulted him, projecting visions of failure and regret, every mistake he had ever made, magnified 100-fold. Shadows of people he could not save reached out from the mist, their hands grasping for him. His breath caught, but he pressed forward. Accept it, he whispered, feeling the fragment's light pulse in response. The shadows recoiled slightly, granting him passage. Mara moved with grace across her platform, her cane casting arcs of blue light that carved a safe path. She faced her own unspoken fears, the roads not taken, the lives she could have saved but chose caution over action. The visions tempted her to linger, to succumb to regret, but she pressed forward with measured steps. I choose what is, she murmured. Promethe's trial was the most intense. The keeper's gaze pierced his mind, dredging up faces of the countless souls he had failed to protect during the passage. Each name carried weight, each memory threatened to drown him. The fragment flared, silver light cutting through the shadows, and he spoke aloud every unspoken name he remembered, honoring them. The keeper's form shivered, as if recognizing his strength. As they converged at the final platform, the keeper loomed over them fully, its form both terrifying and majestic. The mist coalesced into images of the vineyard, the haunted house, and the passages they had traversed. Each image pulsated with unspoken truths, challenging them to reconcile the past, accept their burdens, and step into the future. Jack swallowed, feeling the fragment's warmth. We face it together, he said. Mara nodded, Promethy exhaled, and in unison, they placed their hands on the central pillar. The last beacon of light in the room, a surge of energy erupted, illuminating the chamber in silver and violet brilliance. Shadows, memories, regrets all converged and were purified in the radiance. The keeper's eyes blinked one final time, then dissolved into light, leaving the chamber empty, the mist dispersing. The pillars had vanished, leaving a single glowing pathway leading deeper into the passage. Jack exhaled shakily. So, that's it. We survived the keeper. Mara's expression was calm, yet alert. We endured. But the passage is far from done. The keeper was only one threshold. Beyond this path lies the heart of what the passage truly guards. Promethy nodded, the fragment now glowing steadily. Our trials are not over. But together we have proven that courage, unity, and truth can withstand even the weight of unspoken names. The three of them stepped onto the glowing pathway, leaving the chamber and the keeper behind. Beyond awaited new challenges, deeper mysteries, and the ever-present shadow of the hunter, whose patience was unending. The passage had accepted their truths, but the journey was far from complete. And in the distance, the next trial waited, silent, watching, and hungry for those who dared to move forward. The glowing pathway stretched ahead like a ribbon of liquid silver, winding through darkness that seemed alive. Mist swirled along the edges, and the soft hum of distant energy echoed through the void. Jack, Mara, and Promethy stepped carefully, each footfall producing ripples of light that spread and faded into shadow. Jack squinted into the darkness. Feels wrongly quiet? Like the kind of quiet that eats you alive. Mara's eyes scanned the pathway. The passage shifts constantly. Silence is the prelude to trials. We must remain vigilant. Every sound, every thought. It matters here. Promethy held the fragment aloft. Its silver light cut through the shadows, revealing faint outlines of structures in the distance. Ancient arches, crumbling towers, and floating staircases appeared and disappeared as if the world itself were a mirage. "The keeper may be gone, but the passage is still alive," he said. "Every corner is a test, every shadow a challenge." The first trial emerged suddenly. The pathway split into three, each branch leading to a floating platform suspended over a chasm of swirling mist. Ethereal chains arched from platform to platform, glowing faintly as if forming bridges. Across the chasm, glowing runes floated in the air, pulsating rhythmically. Jack frowned. "So, we just jump across magical chains while staring at glowing runes?" "Sure, why not?" Mara examined the runes carefully. Each rune represents a memory, a fear, or a choice. Misstep, and the chasm may claim us or worse, trap us in reflection indefinitely. Prometheus stepped forward. "We move as one. Courage is our guide, and truth is our anchor." Jack exhaled, then leapt onto the first chain, testing its stability. The chain flexed like a living thing, then held. He moved forward carefully, followed by Mara and Prometheus. The mist below swirled with shadowy faces, reaching for them, whispering doubts. "You cannot succeed. You are unworthy. Turn back." Jack clenched his teeth. "Not today, not ever." Step by step, the trio crossed the chains, the runes glowing brighter with each successful step, guiding them toward the next platform. On the other side, the pathway opened into a hall filled with floating crystalline spheres, each containing a miniature landscape. A forest, a river, a burning village, a mountain shrouded in storm. Each sphere hummed softly, resonating with memory and emotion. Mara stepped closer to one. The forest inside swayed, and ghostly figures moved between the trees. These are fragments of other travelers, other lives," she murmured. "The passage preserves what we leave behind and challenges us with it." Prometheus extended the fragment toward a sphere containing a glowing city under siege by shadows. "To proceed, we must acknowledge what we see without interference. Understanding, not action, is the key here." Jack stared at a sphere showing a reflection of himself, frozen in moments of fear and hesitation. The whispers grew louder. "You failed before. You will fail again." He gritted his teeth. "I face it. Every mistake, every fear. I take it with me and move forward." The spheres pulsed, then shifted aside, opening the path deeper into the labyrinthine passage. As they advanced, the architecture of the passage grew more surreal. Staircases twisted impossibly into the sky, arches bent in impossible angles, and floating platforms rotated gently as if alive. Shadowy creatures moved in the periphery, glimpsed only out of the corner of the eye. They were neither fully corporeal nor entirely illusion, their presence a constant threat. Jack whispered, gripping the fragment. "These things. They feel like the hunter's scouts, or maybe manifestations of the passage itself. Either way, I don't like them." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Do not fear what observes. Fear what manipulates. They're tests, extensions of the passage. Watch carefully. React decisively." Prometheus led the way, tracing constellations in the air with the fragment. Light connected the paths, revealing safe corridors and guiding them past the creatures. Some shadows lunged, but the light of the fragment dissolved them instantly, proving their unity and focus. The corridor twisted impossibly as they advanced, the light of the fragment revealing walls that were at once solid and liquid, pulsing like the heartbeat of the passage itself. Mist swirled along the floor, rising to form fleeting shapes, faces, hands, and figures blurred by time and memory. Every step they took echoed unnaturally, and whispers, some comforting, some accusatory, traveled along the walls like a current of sound. Jack shivered. I can feel them. Every voice, every memory. It's like walking through my own regrets." Mara's gaze swept ahead, sharp and calm. "Do not let the voices bind you. Each one is a fragment, a test. Observe, acknowledge, but do not falter. The passage thrives on hesitation." Prometheus extended the fragment before them. Its silver light formed a protective aura, illuminating faint outlines of shifting platforms ahead. Floating pillars emerged from the mist, each engraved with intricate symbols. Some glowed softly, others pulsed with a dangerous intensity. "The keeper has vanished, but the trials continue," he said. "These pillars are thresholds, each one demands recognition of what you carry inside." Jack approached the first pillar hesitantly. As he touched it, a vision erupted. He saw himself as a child, frozen in a moment of fear, failing to protect someone he loved. The mist around him coalesced into shadowy hands, reaching to pull him into the memory, forcing him to relive every pang of guilt and shame. He felt the weight of every lost choice pressing down. He gritted his teeth. "I accept it," he whispered, forcing his hand deeper against the pillar. The shadow screamed, then dissipated, leaving the pillar glowing brighter and the path forward clear. Mara faced her own pillar next. Warm golden light emanated from the symbols, inviting her to step closer. The vision she encountered was seductive, a life she could have lived full of comfort and safety, yet hollow in its avoidance of courage. She felt the temptation to linger, to abandon the path entirely. But with a steady breath, she whispered, "I choose the path I walk, not the one I could have taken." The pillar flared with radiant light. Acknowledging her resolve, Promethae approached the third pillar, the most imposing of all. Its surface was a liquid mirror, reflecting countless faces of those he had failed to save throughout the passage, souls whose existence had been erased by time or circumstance. The whispers became a cacophony, each voice claiming a fragment of his mind. The fragment in his hand shone with intense silver light, cutting through the darkness, and he spoke aloud every unspoken name he could remember. The mirror rippled, then shattered into motes of light that hovered briefly before vanishing, forming a bridge forward. The three of them crossed together, moving with synchronized steps, hearts pounding. Beyond the pillars, the passage became even more surreal. Staircases twisted in impossible geometries, arches bent toward each other like living creatures, and platforms floated and rotated, testing balance and courage. Shadowed figures flickered at the edges of vision, watching, assessing. But unable to reach them while the fragment's light burned steady, Jack's hand brushed against a floating rune, and instantly the surrounding world shifted. The floor beneath them became water, reflecting starry skies that didn't exist, while the air thickened with memories of the vineyard, the keeper, and countless unseen trials. The whispers intensified, now clearly forming phrases that echoed within their minds. "Do you remember? Do you fear? Do you truly walk with truth?" Jack clenched his fists. "Yes, I remember. I do not fear. And I walk forward." Mara extended her cane, the tip glowing as she traced the pathway through the illusion. "Truth is our anchor. Do not be swayed by visions. This is not reality, it is reflection, testing the strength of our choices." Promethae raised the fragment high, connecting the silver light to the floating runes. The world rippled again, stabilizing, and a new path opened ahead. It glowed faintly, lined with pillars inscribed with unspoken names, the next threshold. Deeper and more dangerous than the last, the mist began to swirl violently. Coalescing into a vast form, a shadowed creature, the first of the passage's guardians. Its shape ever shifting, massive and menacing. Its many eyes glowed faintly, watching their every movement. It did not attack immediately, but radiated an aura of pressure, testing their courage and unity. Jack swallowed hard. Of course, a giant shadow thing. Why wouldn't there be one? Mara's eyes narrowed. It watches for weakness. "Move carefully." Together, Promethae stepped forward, the fragment casting a protective dome. "We face it as one. Courage, truth, and unity will carry us through." The guardian lurched forward, its shadowy limbs stretching across the platform, and the trial escalated. The air crackled with energy, and the whispers of unspoken names became a thunderous chorus. Every step, every thought, and every heartbeat now mattered. The true depth of the passage revealed itself not just as a test of strength, but as a trial of mind, memory, and soul. The shadow guardian towered above them, an ever-shifting mass of darkness, with eyes blinking like distant stars, surveying every movement. Its limbs stretched across the floating platforms, curling and uncoiling like living smoke, probing for weakness. The air crackled with tension, every breath heavy and thick. Jack tightened his grip on the fragment. This thing doesn't look friendly. I vote we run. Mara's eyes narrowed, the cane glowing with a steady blue light. Running is not an option. This is another trial. It tests our courage, our unity, and our perception of truth. Hesitation will be our undoing. Promethy raised the fragment above his head. Silver light flared outward, illuminating the Guardian partially. The shadows writhed, recoiling slightly, but the eyes remained fixed and blinking and omnipresent. We move together, he said. One step, one thought, one heartbeat. Courage is our shield. Truth is our weapon. The Guardian lunged, a sweeping arc of shadow crossing the platforms. Jack jumped, rolling to absorb the force through the fragment's light. Mara struck the floor with her cane, sending a ripple of energy that shattered part of the Guardian's arm into motes of dissipating shadow. Promethy traced a constellation in the air with the fragment, opening a temporary portal that redirected a tendril of darkness harmlessly into the void below. The platforms beneath them shifted unpredictably, testing balance and coordination. Jack struggled to maintain footing, but the fragment's light steadied the platforms briefly. He glanced at Mara. We're doing this together, right? She nodded, her focus unwavering. Together. Do not falter. The Guardian's form shifted again, splitting into three smaller shadows, each attacking from a different angle. They were illusions, but dangerous, for every touch of shadow carried a whisper of memory, a probe into their fears. Jack felt hands brushing his mind, pulling fragments of regret, loss, and guilt. Focus. Promethy shouted, lifting the fragment high. Light exploded outward in a dome, dispersing the shadow illusions temporarily. The whispers turned into a low hum, almost a chant, vibrating through the platforms. Mara advanced, stepping onto a raised pillar that glowed with ancient runes. She traced patterns in the air with her cane, forming arcs of light that struck the shadows, revealing the true Guardian hidden beneath the illusions. The massive dark form flickered, revealing a core of swirling silver mist, the heart of the creature. Pulsating with names unspoken, memories unacknowledged, Jack swallowed hard, feeling the pressure in his chest. So, we attack the heart, right? That seems like a reasonable idea, Promethy nodded. Yes, but it is not brute force that will succeed. Recognition, acceptance, and unity will break it. He and Mara focused their combined light on the Guardian's core. Jack took a deep breath and spoke aloud the names he had carried silently for years, the faces of those he had failed, those lost, those unspoken. The fragment glowed brighter with each name, resonating with truth and courage. The Guardian shrieked, a soundless wail that shook the platforms and mist. Shadow limbs struck wildly, yet each was met with arcs of light, reflections of their courage. The mist swirling around the chamber seemed to respond, forming pathways and barriers in sync with their will. Finally, the core of the Shadow Guardian began to fragment. Each shard shimmered with names, memories, and truths, flickering like stars before dissolving into silver motes that drifted harmlessly into the mist. The remaining shadows crumbled, leaving only a faint whisper behind. A gentle acknowledgement of passage and endurance. Jack sank to his knees, exhausted, sweat mixing with the mist on his face. We survived it. Mara steadied herself, scanning the chamber. We endured, but the passage is far from done. Every trial strengthens what lies ahead. The shadow was only a fragment of what awaits. Promethy lowered the fragment. Its glow steadied, bathing the hall in soft silver light. We have proven courage, unity, and truth. The Guardian has yielded. Now, the next threshold awaits, a place where memory, time, and identity are tested. We must move carefully. The mist parted ahead, revealing a spiral staircase carved from light and shadow, winding downward into deeper darkness. The air hummed with unseen energy, carrying whispers of the next trial, the heart of the passage itself, where unspoken names, lost memories, and the hunter's lingering presence awaited. Jack groaned. Great. Another dungeon. Fantastic. Let's just hope it doesn't try to chew us up like the last one. The spiral staircase descended endlessly, the walls shifting and breathing like living stone. Every step they took echoed unnaturally, carrying whispers that seemed to come from all directions. Some were familiar voices, friends long gone, loved ones they had failed to save, while others were alien, distorted, almost mocking in tone. The air itself pressed against them, heavy with the weight of memory and time. Jack glanced over his shoulder. I don't like this. It feels like the passage is alive and watching. Like it knows everything I've ever done wrong. Mara's eyes were sharp, her cane tapping rhythmically against the steps. It does know, Jack. The passage absorbs memory, truth, and doubt. Each trial tests the strength of your mind and the unity of your group. Fear makes it stronger. Resolve weakens it. Promethy held the fragment aloft, the silver light radiating in concentric waves that pushed back the oppressive darkness. The spiral distorts not only space but perception. Step carefully. Every movement, every thought is monitored. Hesitation is punished. As they continued downward, the staircase suddenly dissolved into a series of floating platforms, each hovering above a chasm filled with writhing mist. The platforms were uneven, some tilting dangerously, others spinning slowly. Names glowed faintly along the edges, faces of those lost, forgotten, or erased from memory. Every step carried the risk of falling into oblivion, of becoming just another whisper in the mist. Jack's stomach turned. Great. Now it's a giant game of don't fall into the abyss of forgotten souls. Just what I needed. Mara ignored his sarcasm, studying the runes etched into the platforms. Each platform resonates with a memory or truth. Step carefully. Focus on what is real. Let the fragment guide you. Promethy traced a pattern in the air, linking the platforms with lines of silver light. The chain of energy stabilized the shifting steps, revealing the path forward. We proceed together. Unity is our anchor. The first platform tested Jack directly. Shadows rose from the mist below, forming into figures from his past, people he had wronged, abandoned, or failed to protect. They reached toward him, whispering regrets and accusations. Every one of Jack's missteps was amplified, every failure magnified into a specter of despair. He gritted his teeth, holding the fragment higher. I remember. I accept it. I move forward. The shadows recoiled, dissipating into motes of light, and the platforms stabilized. Jack exhaled, trembling but resolute. Mara faced her own trial next. The platform beneath her glowed golden, radiating warmth that belied its danger. Visions of roads not taken, of lives she could have changed but chose not to intervene, swirled around her. The temptation to linger was strong, the lure of an easier, safer existence. She shook her head. I choose my path, she whispered. Not what could have been, but what must be. The golden light flared, solidifying her platform and linking it to Jack's path. Promethe's test was the most intricate. The platform beneath him reflected a myriad of faces, each a soul erased from history, forgotten by time. The whispers became a chorus, overwhelming, yet he spoke aloud every name he could remember, letting memory and truth flow through the fragment. The platform shimmered and steadied, granting passage. As they converged, the mist thickened, forming a wall of shadow that pulsed with unseen energy. Within the darkness, massive eyes opened and closed in silent judgment. Tentacles of living mist writhed toward them, probing, testing. The ambient whispers transformed into clear questions. Do you understand what is lost? Do you carry the weight without breaking? Can you continue? Jack felt the pressure in his chest, the weight of every regret and failure threatening to crush him. Mara's steady voice cut through the storm. Together. Always together, Promethy raised the fragment, its silver light forming a dome around them. The tentacles recoiled as the energy expanded, revealing the next stage of the trial, a room of floating crystal spheres, each containing a fragment of reality, a village, a battlefield, a memory of a loved one, a glimpse of the future. Each sphere emitted its own whispers, drawing attention, tempting distraction. Focus, Promethy said. Observe. Acknowledge, do not interfere. The passage tests understanding, not action. Jack's gaze locked on a sphere, showing himself as a child, trembling and afraid, unable to save someone he loved. The whisper inside the sphere hissed, "You failed then. You will fail again." He closed his eyes, raising the fragment. I accept it. I carry it. I moved forward. The sphere's light brightened, integrating his memory into the pathway ahead. Mara did the same, acknowledging the lives she could not save, the choices she had made, and the paths she had denied. Prometheus followed, calling the names of those forgotten, letting truth and remembrance flow through him. The chambers shifted again, folding and stretching. Floating staircases spiraled into the distance, platforms rotated and tilted, and shadows flickered along the edges of perception. The trials of memory, courage, and unity had only begun, but the trio moved together, their steps measured, their resolve unwavering. The passage was alive, its consciousness probing, testing, shaping itself to challenge them at every turn. Jack whispered, gripping the fragment. I don't even know if we're halfway through this thing. But, somehow, we're still here. Mara smiled faintly. Endurance is our greatest weapon, and together there is nothing we cannot face. Prometheus nodded, the silver light of the fragment reflecting in his eyes. Prepare yourselves. The true heart of the passage awaits below. Trials of body, mind, and soul will test everything we are. But we are ready, or as ready as we can be. The mist parted slightly, revealing a massive spiral staircase of light and shadow descending into an abyss deeper than anything they had seen. The echoes of countless whispers surged from below, carrying names, regrets, and truths too vast to comprehend. And at the bottom, faintly glowing, lay the next trial, the core of the passage itself. Jack exhaled shakily. Great! Next level. Let's just hope it doesn't try to eat us this time. Mara's cane tapped the steps, sending ripples of light ahead. Focus, resolve, unity. That is all that matters. Together, the three of them began the descent. Stepping into the heart of the passage where darkness, memory, and unspoken names awaited their courage, the spiral staircase finally ended, opening onto a vast chamber that seemed to stretch beyond perception. The walls were neither stone nor air, but a fluid mixture of shadow and silver light pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. Every pulse sent ripples through the chamber, and with each ripple, the whispers of unspoken names grew louder, more insistent, filling their minds with fragments of memory, regret, and longing. Jack swallowed hard. I don't even know where to step. It's like the floor itself is alive. Mara's eyes swept the chamber. It is alive. The passage is consciousness itself here. Every thought we have, every doubt, every fear it reacts. Step carefully, keep your mind clear, and let the fragment guide you. Prometheus held the fragment high. Its silver light expanded, forming a protective dome that stretched several paces ahead. This is the heart of the passage. Here, it tests the entirety of who we are: courage, unity, memory, and the ability to accept truth. Anything less, and it will consume us, or worse, erase us from existence. The chamber was filled with floating platforms, each one shifting, rotating, and disappearing into mist. Suspended above the abyss were crystal orbs containing fragments of their pasts, their fears, and visions of possible futures. Shadows moved between the orbs, whispering in voices familiar and alien, probing for weaknesses. Jack hesitated. One orb reflected himself as a boy, paralyzed by fear, while someone he loved called for help. The whispers hissed, "You failed. You always fail." His heart pounded. He closed his eyes and spoke aloud. "I remember. I accept." I moved forward. The orb shimmered, then merged into the pathway ahead. Mara's trial was subtler, yet no less dangerous. Her orb contained visions of paths she had denied, lives she could have saved, choices avoided out of fear or caution. The whispers tempted her to linger, to lose herself in what might have been. But she exhaled slowly, grounding herself. "I choose my path, not the illusions of possibility," she said. The orb pulsed brightly and dissolved, opening her path. Prometheus' orb was the largest and most daunting. It contained countless faces of forgotten souls, lives erased by time, memories abandoned by those who had walked before them. The whispers were a storm, pressing against his mind. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of every name, every unspoken story. Raising the fragment, he spoke aloud each name he could remember, honoring them. The orb flared, silver light cascading across the chamber, stabilizing the platforms. As they advanced, the passage grew increasingly surreal. Staircases twisted in impossible geometries, arches leaned like living creatures, and shadows flickered constantly at the edges of their perception. The whispers intensified, no longer mere voices, but questions of their very existence. Do you truly understand what you carry? Can you endure the weight of unspoken truth? Will you survive when all else is forgotten? Jack felt his chest tighten, the pressure almost unbearable. I don't know if I can. Murat's steady voice cut through the storm. You can because we face it together. Courage, truth, and unity, that is our strength.